Well, it has certainly been a busy summer of severe thunderstorms with numerous reports of tornadoes and wind damage.
But what goes into those official reports rather? Amber Wheeler, she's here to explain in this week's WeatherWise how that works.
Well, Tim and Alicia, we get reports all the time of wind damage, and many times it's assumed to be a tornado before it's been confirmed, but sometimes folks jump to conclusions. Now, it's obvious that it's tornado damage when you're seeing the tornado rip through a home. That's a given. But what about at night? Well, twice in the last couple of weeks, we've had folks assume tornado damage just because they saw something catastrophic, and it's understandable. In Stanton, here in North Dakota, we ended up seeing a microburst with estimated winds of around 130 miles per hour. You can see the devastation. This report came from the National Weather Service office out of Bismarck. Now, yesterday we got several reports of tornadoes, of tornadoes in the Watford City area, and let me explain why we didn't refer to this as a tornado that ripped through the Prairie View RV park until the National Weather Service surveyed the damage. Even though there was a video here, and you can see that here on this freeze frame, there's a video of a tornado from far away, it couldn't be confirmed to be right over the RV park. The question still remained, were these straight line winds, something we've seen a lot of? So even though there were witnesses to the destruction, there were no eyewitnesses to the scene, of a tornado rather, on the scene. This isn't surprising because it's the middle of the night. We also didn't have radar indication at the time of a tornado, and that's not something that is unusual. Sometimes a tornado is lower than the radar beam, so not all tornadoes are actually called because we see that below the radar beam. We wait for the official findings from the National Weather Service because they're the only ones that can look at this damage and assess and say, yes, this was a tornado, or this was straight line winds, or a microburst. We've been talking a lot about that, and we did have reports in Plentywood of not only tornado damage, EF1 tornado from Monday night, but also microburst damage. And the microburst winds happen to be stronger than the tornado winds. So you got to be really careful. We didn't have any confirmation at the time. Again, we saw that video. It was about 3/4 of a mile away. But the question was, and I spoke with the National Weather Service about this, was that tornado over the RV park, or was it close to it? Were these straight line winds? And so we want to keep it really official and respect the process, because if we were to just make assumptions, what's the point? You know, what's the point in really going out and survey damage? So we wanted to sort of just, say why we didn't call it a tornado until the National Weather Service did. And I do want to make a note as well. Folks in the Watford City, we've heard this several times from our sound bites and also our live interviews we did yesterday. Folks are referring to 4 years ago.
Right.
Memorial Day. This is unusual to have the same town be hit by an EF2 tornado twice in 4 years. So the emotional aftermath is there, and that's something that I want to say is not lost on us here in the Storm Team and at KX News. These are not just headlines for us. This is real life. We want to give our condolences to those who are still dealing with loss, and
it's a hard situation for a lot of folks there in Watford City and all over the place. It's hard to see that. Of course, we always want to report as accurately as possible, and that's why we work with the National Weather Service and
get the facts out.
Get those forensics done on the storm
and
figure out exactly what happened.
Very good.
Thanks,
Thank
Amber.
you so much, Amber.
We'll have the full weather forecast